Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom and Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. So originally I was going to do another episode for my draft show and talk about my profuse love for the Kevin Costner movie Draft Day. But it seems like I'm going to have to put that on hold because we had sort of a bombshell kind of drop today. So for those of you that don't know, there was an article on ESPN that dropped today by Seth Wickersham, and it was talking about the very rocky relationship between Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Robert Kraft currently of the Patriots. And it's basically all summing up to this might be the last year all three are together in New England. So if you have not read that article, I would highly suggest you go read that first, because that's what I'm going to be referencing. And it'll add a lot more clarity to the gaps that I don't cover if you know what the article says. So it's a pretty good read. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Because I want to get ahead of this. I think as we get to the end of the day, a lot of people have calmed down, but I knew the very first thing was going to be a bunch of talking heads talking about the Bears should go after Belichick. And I still think as some fans, because articles aren't big for everybody. And so I think as fans start to get a grasp of what the article says, there's going to be more and more people talking about how we should get Belichick. So really, I want to do a couple things. I want to hit my main takeaways from the article. And then I wanted to talk about the chances of Bill Belichick coming to the Bears. So first starting with the article, though, because, I don't want our Chicago fans to be the normal regular fans. It's so easy in this day and age to go with the mainstream narrative, to go with what the talking heads say. I want us to be better than that. And so I want to continue to do these shows to change the narrative, to really look deeper at a smarter football look. And so with that, let's point out some things in this article. Number one, I came away realizing that my love for Bill Belichick is even deeper. As a coach, who doesn't look up to him and the things he's been able to accomplish? But mainly, if you look at the article and just in general, the career Belichick has had in New England, I want people to realize that there's only one way to have sustained success. And this is something I believe and adopted very early on in my coaching career. There's only one way to have sustained success, and that is a constant pursuit of perfection. That means you have to constantly look to get everything right, because the moment, and this sounds like a cliche, but the moment you become complacent and you think you've done enough, that's the moment you're losing and you're on your way to going down. And that's just what it is. And I mean, there's people that go hard, and players, teams, organizations, whatever. There's people that go hard. They get kind of complacent. They need a punch in the mouth to get back, that competitive juice. And yeah, you can win that way once or twice, but to have sustained success, Belichick and Brady, they have 5 rings, and they're always in the playoffs. I'm not going to look up all the numbers and tell you all that. You can do that yourself. They're always winning. And so the only way to do that is to have a constant pursuit of perfection, not just when the chips are down. Like, you always have to be chasing to get better. And so that's something that I've always believed in. And, it's definitely harder, I think, on my level and the high school level. It's hard on all levels, but it's definitely harder as you go down. But once you get up to the point where everybody's making money to play, there's too many stars that don't realize that you have to constantly want to get better, and that has to happen as a team. And so when you hear the methods of Belichick, how it's the Patriot way, and how you have to do things a certain way, they want certain players. Some people say, there's overkill, And I'll be number one to tell you that I believe when you win in whatever method that you use is all of a sudden the cool method. You know, that's the copycat league. So it's like, hey, whatever we did, if we win, then people are going to say, oh, that's the right way to do it. And I don't necessarily believe that, but I will say in Belichick's case, I think this applies to any team, any place you would go, because when you have a team that is constantly pushing to get better and, you know, taking the criticism and trying to improve everything, that's when you get teams that are good in all situations. That's when you get the Patriots that can win over the years in many different ways, close games, blowouts, comebacks, all these things. And they understand the situations. They understand how to play smart football because they're constantly pushing themselves. And to that point, the only way to have a team that's constantly pursuing perfection is to have players that are on the same page. And you wonder why Belichick constantly has people leaving, why they constantly replace people with or replace players with players that nobody knows about, and they still are able to win, because they understand that you have to have the right mindset to play here. And the ones that don't, or the ones that lose that mindset, they're gone. And so you can look at the number of examples over the years, and then you can even look at what happens to them once they leave. As far as players, they leave the Patriots because they got their heads too big, and they realize once they leave, they're not that good because they think they're better than just doing their job. And so it takes a tough player to play under Belichick. I know coaches like Belichick. I wouldn't say I coach like Belichick, not to that point, but in the sense that for me, when I'm with players in the season, yes, it's fun to celebrate in the moment, but after, you know, that the next day in film and in practice, we'll always point out the negatives. And we're in that day and age where, wow, negativity doesn't work, and we should be positive, and you can't always tear your players down. And it's not about tearing players down. It's not about making them feel like crap. It's about, hey, you did a good job in this. That's why I didn't bring it up. But I brought up the parts that you could be better in. And you got to have the right players that can receive that and understand it's for the better good. And so that's hard to get. And it starts with a winning culture. You got to establish a winning culture. You got to be a winner. And then now the people you bring in, they understand what they're getting into, and then you go on from there. And so my point is that you read the article, and they're talking about mainly how Brady has got to a point where he thinks he's above the Patriot way, and that he is embracing positive thinking, and he feels like after everything he's done, he shouldn't be talked to by the coach that went in front of the whole team. And the whole previous years has always been about nobody is above the team, and that just because you're a superstar does not mean you don't get criticized. And Brady bought into that, and it's important for the team to see that. But now, as we're getting into this rift, Brady doesn't feel that way anymore. He feels like he should have some respect. And so I can tell you that that is huge. I don't care what level of football you're on. If players see that superstar players get passes, you're not going to have a good team, or you're not going to have a good chemistry. You might win a few years, you might get close, whatever, but overall it's not going to last, because once the players that need to fight for something, to fight for a spot, or the average, Joe player that's just a starter but not a superstar, once they see that the stars get special treatment, it's over. They're not going to go hard for each other. They're not going to go hard for you. It's kid stuff, but it's just the human psychology. And so a big part of their success was Belichick being able to tell Brady, hey, look, you messed up right here, and I'm able to come at you the same way I come at anybody else. Now, there's arguments to say that Belichick has taken it too far over the years, the way he comes for players. But overall thought being that if you're going to have sustained success, you have to keep players that are about winning. And there's always going to be teams to go be a superstar. There's always going to be teams to go get big contracts. There's always going to be teams where you want to go dance every single time you make a play. There's going to be teams for that. But if you come here, you have to know what you're getting signed up for. And it's a free agency world. Like, don't come here. Don't try to sign if you're not ready to go. And some people say, well, you start off getting drafted. Patriots not going to draft you if you don't have that mindset already. 9 times out of 10, you already the type of player they're looking for that's hungry. And if you turn out not to be, you get the money and turn around, then they kick you out. Pretty simple. So, people realize that, we think about this glorious day down the road, light at the end of the tunnel, and you wonder when the Bears are going to be real contenders. That's when. And when I talk about hiring a coach that not only develops players and knows how to get the best out of them, we got to talk about a coach that understands that culture has to be set in place and that he knows exactly what type of players he wants and what will work. And you look at Belichick as the blueprint. That is how you get to a point where you can win for that long, because it's not about me. It's about the team. And all these cliches that people think are cliches, they actually matter. And so to the other point, we look at this article and what kind of started this riff. And it essentially is 3 people that were a part of this gigantic success. And they're all 3 believing that it was what they did. Brady believing, of course, I'm the quarterback. I did this. Belichick believing the Patriot way and the way I coached the team did this. And for whatever reason, Robert Kraft thinking I'm the owner. I supplied them with the resources. I picked y'all. I did this. And it's an ego thing that has cracked, the foundation. And that's not uncommon. So when looking at football, we talk about money, we talk about playing hard. But at the end of the day, under those helmets, under those pads, these are people. And we've seen superstars, we've seen people with egos, but remember that egos play a big part of it. And even for people that have sustained success and put their pride aside for the ultimate goal, eventually it comes for them. And that's what makes having success this long so hard, is that eventually people don't want to be seen on the same level. They want to be seen as bigger than each other. And that can easily tear a team apart or tear, foundations apart. And so, I just think fans should keep that in mind. We should always keep that in mind. And then the last thing that you should take away from this article is that there's so much going on that's not on the field that we don't know about. And the narrative always and always will be in football, just like those 3 want credit. The narrative is always, oh, they won because he's good. Oh, they just won because they got Brady. Oh, they just won because Belichick's a good coach. Like, everybody wants to make it black and white. It is a huge effort to win a Super Bowl. I mean, huge. You think about the thousands of employees in the system, from the stadium to the coaching staff to everybody, to the scouting department. It is a huge task. And then let alone to do it 5 different times, and then also be in the postseason all these times. So while everybody wants to break it down to black and white, remember that as you read this article and you hear about different players, you hear about a body trainer that really set this whole thing off, and you hear about these egos and staff members. And remember that it doesn't take just, oh, we got a coach, because that's what everybody wants. Oh, we got this coach. Oh, we got this quarterback. We're good now. Or we got this player. We're good now. It's more than that. It is so much more than that. And we keep looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, wondering when it's going to come. You'll be able to see it when we have a whole organization working towards the same goal. is not going to be one savior like everybody wants to believe. Now, to that end, our Chicago Bears, Bill Belichick, everybody's like, hey man, you gotta go out there and throw the house at him. You gotta offer him ownership in the Bears and $100 million and because John Gruden, first off, all that is a ripoff of John Gruden. Now, John Gruden did get a $100 million contract, which is a record amount, and I don't even know how I feel about that. But the whole reports that he's getting a stake of ownership in the Raiders, he said that's not true. And so now everybody's saying, yeah, Belichick, offer him that. Like, why would Belichick want to own part of the Bears? I mean, he has no ties to the Bears. I get what y'all saying, but it's kind of a meathead rallying cry right now, where it's like, let's just go get Belichick. Like, okay, so number one, him wanting to come here, that's an issue. Why would he pick to come here at all places? There's all this talk about he wants a young quarterback and he wants to flip a franchise around from the ground. Okay, yeah, that sounds nice. However, this is Ryan Pace's show. Basically, not even to go down that route. This is what would have to happen. You would have to fire Ryan Pace or highly demote him to even have Bill Belichick. And then number two, you would have to hire a coach right now and fire him once Bill Belichick says yes. That's really the only way you can get him, because you can't sit here right in the peak of hiring season, skip all these candidates saying, hey, we're going to go for broke with Bill Belichick, or say we're not going to offer anybody the job because we want to wait for Bill Belichick. That would be, that's everybody should be fired and the team should be sold if that's the case. So you can't do that. So you're going to have to make an offer. And then let's say he down the line, at the end of the postseason says, yeah, I'm leaving New England. Then you would have to fire your coach that you already just hired and then hire Bill Belichick. That's basically the only way you could get him. Or you just don't pursue anybody and wait on Bill Belichick, was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So you talk about the likelihood of him coming in Chicago, and it sounds like a cool rallying cry. But to my point earlier, it's more than just Bill Belichick. It's more than just bringing in one coach. It's going to take a lot more than that. But I understand why fans and some of the radio heads are talking. But for me, it's just a silly narrative. There's no way Bill Belichick comes to the Bears this offseason. And even if he did, you can't expect, things to just magically change around. So that's my piece. All right, so my important part for me is always hearing from other people, other Bears fans. So go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the whole Patriots dilemma. Let me hear what you think about Belichick coming to the Bears. Do you really think it's possible? Do you think he would save everything? Go to the comment section. Let me know. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around so we can grow this channel. And thank you for listening.